looks like the Cowboys, the priority is to extend Dak Prescott basically very, very soon over instead of extending CeeDee Lamb, and they could wait a year for Micah Parsons. However, it comes out by Ian Rappaport saying that Dak Prescott is looking for a total whopping of $60 million per year, which is insane to think about. As well as, on The Athletic, Cowboys beat reporter Saad Youssef actually answered a question from a reader who was questioning whether or not the Cowboys thought Dak Prescott was elite. And this is what he had to say. He said, quote, "I don't believe the Cowboys management thinks that Prescott is elite, as much as they indicated with their words. If they did already think he was an elite quarterback, Prescott wouldn't be entering the final year of his contract. As I've been saying, that's me now. Let's continue with the quote. Actions speak louder than words. I think management believes that Prescott is an elite leader and even an elite person. But if they thought he was an elite quarterback, he'd have a new contract extension completed a long time ago." So, if they're making Dak Prescott a priority to extend him over CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons, as well as Dak Prescott asking for $60 million a year, do you think the Cowboys would be making a mistake in making Dak their priority?
Before I get into that, I'd just like to outline some of the mistakes the Cowboys made with contract negotiations. Prescott, Lamb, and Parsons all needing to be re-signed in the same year. That's a mistake. They should have seen that coming and done at least one or maybe even two of them last year. They would have saved money. Now they should have staggered those contracts or renegotiated some of the deals last year. The market now has exploded for quarterbacks and receivers. The baseline salary now is $55 million. That's what Trevor Lawrence and the Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow have. And for elite wide receivers now, Justin Jefferson's getting $30 million a year. So that set the bar. And then they gave Dak Prescott a no trade, no tag, no franchise tag deal with his last contract. And he reportedly wants $60 million a year and can enter free agency next year because they can't trade him to a team he doesn't want to go to, and they can't franchise tag him. So they've got to make him their first priority because he's got the leverage over them. And will he get $60 million? It's smart to ask for it. Sure, why not ask for it? He'll be happy with 55.
55, I think, is a little too much. I want to reread the quote by Saad Youssef. Actions speak louder than words.
That was what I said that before.
Right. But I'm reading from the quote, and I even said that when it comes to a particular quote that Dak Prescott himself said that we covered on the show. I'm only going to read the first part because that's the massive part of it. Read this quote. "I don't play for money. Never have, never cared for it, to be honest with you. Would give it up just to play the game." And now Ian Rappaport is coming out saying that Dak Prescott's looking for $60 million a year.
He'll say it's his agents that are doing that.
Well, are the agents just plucking this number out of the sky?
Yeah.
If that's the case, I'll say it again like I said before. And for instance, let's compare him to another quarterback who deserved an okay contract that I don't think anyone really disagreed with. If you are really, I'll say this again, don't care about playing for the money, take you're clone in the NFL's contract, $45 million. Since Kirk arrived to the Minnesota Vikings, they are a 1-to-1 copy essentially. Take $45 million a year. If you really don't play for money, if that is the case, and they're already making you a priority, if the Cowboys offered you $45 million a year, take it.
Let's put those stats up there again.
Sure.
They're pretty close, except Kirk Cousins actually is a little ahead there. He's got 171
He has 14
TD.
more touchdowns, 2 less picks.
Yeah.
And I'm going to agree with it. I don't think you should view Dak Prescott as an elite quarterback because elite quarterbacks are elite in a lot of situations, and especially the top-tier ones. When all the cards are pushed to the table and all the money is on the line, they succeed. Dak Prescott is the opposite of that. What have we seen in 3 straight playoff series? Failure, failure, failure. Embarrassment, embarrassment, embarrassment. Bad decision, bad decision, bad decision. So let's go through it real quick. So in 2021 against San Francisco, in the third quarter, Dak Prescott throws a pick 6 on his own 26-yard line. Debo scores on the very next play. Cowboys lose by 7. Let's go the next year. Brock Purdy's rookie year, undefeated, basically the entire season. Probably would have been if he didn't get hurt and tear his UCL against the Eagles. But up until that point, he was undefeated. So the Cowboys defense actually holds the 6th highest scoring offense that year to a total of 19 points. That's very good. The defense did its job. You can't argue that whatsoever. However, Dak Prescott, against the 49ers' 20th ranked passing defense, throws 2 very bad, very poorly thrown, very bad decision-making interceptions, and then the Cowboys lose by 7. Unfortunate. And then last year was bad. The first 7 seed in the NFL since it extended back in 2020, the first 7 seed to win a playoff game was the Green Bay Packers, and also the Green Bay Packers that year were the youngest team in the NFL. Anyone remember that game? Dak Prescott throws 2 very bad interceptions, one of which got returned for a pick 6 to put the score up 27-0, and the first offensive points came with 2 seconds remaining in the first half. The game was essentially over. The Packers kind of threw in the towel at that point. They still scored a couple nice points afterwards, but lo and behold, Dak Prescott, the numbers look great. I think he has like 403 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he also has the 2 picks. So 403 yards in essentially... in one game, but I think most of that came in the second half when, it's kind of the situation of the Packers just gave up in a sense. And also last year, Dak Prescott went 3-5 against teams with a winning record. And I talk about the offensive line. The offensive line is okay. Last year in 2022, not this past year, but the previous year, offensive line was ranked 12th. It's above average, just outside the top 10. Last year it was 8th. 8th. So they did have a top 10 offensive line last year. So if you have a top 10 offensive line last year, this past season, you have CeeDee Lamb, who clearly made himself look like a wide receiver 1, and Micah Parsons, who keeps getting better and better and better after every single season. Would you believe, and I can't believe this number is true. Let me get it out very quickly. Last year, Micah Parsons had 41 pressures against playoff teams. The next highest Cowboy had 17. Michael Parsons is a difference maker defensively. He's always been a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year. He's never been able to get it. He's always made a massive impact on defense. And CeeDee Lamb had a career year last year. And you're gonna give a guy $60 million for great regular season numbers, but when it matters most in the playoffs, he chokes. He becomes a bad decision-making quarterback. Normally, we consider those quarterbacks frauds, where you only do well in certain situations, and then when it matters most, when the lights are the brightest, you crumble underneath the pressure.
Well, I hear your points, and I think many of them are good. I don't think that Dak Prescott is a fraud. I mean, he was in the MVP talk there for right up till near the end of the season. He had some great games last year. He had his best season with the stats this past year. He really played well in the regular season. For whatever it is, the Cowboys just can't do well in the playoffs. That's not just Dak Prescott, although you pointed out some big mistakes that he made.
Interceptions.
Yeah, that's true. But look at the against Green Bay, the defense couldn't do anything. I mean, the Green Bay walked all over them. So it's a team sport. It's not just one player. I think that they will prioritize Dak in terms of contract because he has the leverage over them. But what about CeeDee Lamb? They thought he would be the first to sign, but he has less leverage. He doesn't have a franchise. He doesn't have a block against the franchise tag. So I think that he's been waiting for Justin Jefferson's contract to get done to set the benchmark. He should get very close to that, if not the same. I don't think he could hold out, but what good would it do him? It would just cost him money, and then the Cowboys can franchise tag him in 2025. So it doesn't make sense for him to hold out. I think he'll be in camp. I think they aren't, even though Prescott is looking for $60 million, and the Cowboys think that they may prioritize Dak, they aren't close with a deal with him, and that makes the timeline for CeeDee Lamb unknown right now, even though the benchmark has been set. So I'd say Lamb probably goes to the training camp unhappy because he doesn't have a lot of leverage. But I don't think it's a good thing for the Cowboys. I really think they made mistakes here. They should have done some of these contracts last year.
Well, I'll say this. Would you put CeeDee Lamb at the same level, so $35 million a year, same level as Justin Jefferson. Because I wouldn't. I would put him a notch or two below. So I'm talking probably $33, $34 million a year. I think he's better than A.J. Brown. I don't think he's as good as Justin Jefferson. So I would put him at the $33, $34 million a year. The big one, though, and this one you could wait, which is actually in the Cowboys' favor with Micah Parsons. You don't need to really worry about it until next year. That's where it gets interesting because a lot of people are expecting Micah Parsons to be the highest non-quarterback player in the NFL.
Paid.
Yeah. Which I think really he probably deserves it just because of the numbers. Let's quickly reference Micah Parsons over what he's been able to do so far in his career. Year 1, 13 sacks. Year 2, 13 and a half. Year 3, 14. So based on that metric, he should have 14 and a half sacks this year. He has 40 and a half sacks over 3 seasons. And he was runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year 1, runner-up Defensive Player of the Year 2, and he was the third Defensive Player of the Year candidate this past season. So Micah Parsons' impact is not small. It's pretty damn big. Like I said, against playoff teams in 2023, 2024, 41 pressures versus playoff teams. The next highest Cowboy had 17. You can't replace Parsons anytime soon. You can't replace CeeDee Lamb, I don't think, really anytime soon. You may have a couple nice B's and B minuses, but CeeDee Lamb is an A- type of guy, A- to an A. It's hard to replace him. And then Dak Prescott. You have a guy named Trey Lance, who I have no faith in, because I barely seen him. Didn't really perform very well when we did see him. So I think having him, and then he'll probably now surpass Cooper Rush at QB2. That's what a lot of people are saying. A lot of reports are saying. He's also going to take the majority of the preseason snaps as well. We'll probably see him every single game. I think there's a chance that the Cowboys really think about Trey Lance at some point in the near future. I don't think it's a great idea, but it might just be an idea that they bring up because Dak Prescott is asking to be the top paid quarterback in the NFL when he hasn't played like he deserves to be the top quarterback in the NFL.
He's willing to take a little discount there. He's not going to get. He knows he's not going to get $60 million a year. He's asking that to hope to get 55.
I would hope he's not asking for 60 legitimately.
I'm sure he's asking for it. I bet this wasn't in the news, but I bet all the other quarterbacks, they asked for more than they ultimately got. They try to ask for the sky and they get the piece of it that they want. That's what generally happens. I think that's the way the game is played. So I don't make too much of the $60 million number.
I do because Dak Prescott held that last time. He was complaining about his contract, then he makes $40 million a year. The one thing that Jerry Jones has failed at consistently is waiting too long.
Yeah.
That's where you get bit. So if the Cowboys, and it's really unfortunate that you have to do this, you would pay Micah Parsons next year when he's eligible for that extension. You would not wait until the year after or his 5th-year option year. You would sign him year 3. You would extend him year 3. Dak Prescott last year of his contract. CeeDee Lamb last year of his contract. And it bites you because the market every year goes up.
Yeah, and the quarterback and the wide receiver market exploded this year. The money is unbelievable.
Just think, 6 years ago.
$50 million to be a quarterback
6 years ago, Jimmy G was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, making $25.7, I believe, million annually. Jimmy Garoppolo was the highest paid quarterback in 2018.
Making
25 point something million dollars per year. And now we're talking about Trevor Lawrence, who...
These guys, the kind of money they have over their career. I think, Dak Prescott, he's already earned $162 million playing football.
I mean, was it?
Kirk Cousins
is going to be the wealthiest quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
I think he's making $400 million over his career.
Yeah. Wow. That's real money.
Of course it is. So, Dak Prescott asked for 60. I think, personally, doesn't deserve it. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.